This is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk, this Monday edition, 888-589-8840, number to call. Let's grab clip number 2. George Will is now a part of the team at Fox News. He was at ABC, I believe, before. Now he is a Fox News contributor. Had an interesting exchange here with Chris Wallace yesterday. Chris Wallace saying to George Will, look, leaders of both parties this week continue to talk at each other while they fail to talk with each other. We're back now with the panel. Relations between the two parties, I think it's fair to say, were pretty miserable before the standoff. And but after this and after all the splits we're seeing in the parties, between the parties, George is any business getting done over the next year. So what Chris Wallace is alluding to, you've got some differences of opinion, even in the Republican Party, about the best way to proceed. You got Peter King saying this whole deal of a shutdown is a terrible idea. We ought to forget about it. You got other Republicans, about 20 or so. They're ready to roll over on Obamacare. They're ready to roll over on the debt ceiling. So you've got some differences of opinion, even in the Republican Party. Here's what George Will said in response.
I don't see immigration getting done. I mean, it's becoming axiomatic that you can't get anything done in America during an election year or the year before an election year, which is all years taken together. But about the split in the Republican Party, I mean, what else is new? They split in 1912 between President Taft and Teddy Roosevelt. They split in 64 between the Goldwaterites and the Rockefellers. It's a big country, and the Republicans now have what liberals are supposed to admire, which is diversity, except liberals don't want diversity in thought, and that's what the Republicans now have, and it makes them rather interesting.
You know, that is intriguing because all of the oxygen is being consumed by the Republicans right now, right? Because of this diversity. There's diversity of thought among the Republicans, and George Will calling out the liberals. Look, this to them is the paragon of what culture's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about diversity. It's supposed to be about multiculturalism and loving and appreciating each other's differences. Well, here now the Republican Party has it in spades, and the Democrats can't stand it. The truth is they do not want diversity in thought or anything else. They want this bone-crushing, soul-crushing monoversity. Everybody's got to think like they do and agree with them, or they will be crushed. Now, speaking of diversity, Rand Paul here on with Savannah Guthrie of CNN talking about, remember we made the point that, Harry Reid is, this George Stephanopoulos saying Harry Reid wants to negotiate. He wants to sit down and talk. John Boehner saying, no, he doesn't. And the reality is the House has sent 26 bills over to the Senate that would keep the government funded, that would keep it going. Clean CR has been sent over to the Senate, and Harry Reid won't allow a single one of them to come to a vote. He's single-handedly blockading any effort to deal with this issue. And that here's Savannah Guthrie wants to pin the blame for all of this on the Republicans. Here's her exchange with Rand Paul.
Well, of course you can change it. You can change it if you, of course, but you have to propose something that can get through the House, the Senate, and be signed by the president. Back in the 80s, they didn't shut down the government to make that happen, did they?
Well, how do you know what will pass until you propose something and vote on it? So we've proposed several compromises. Our initial position, and still our position, is we think Obamacare is a bad idea and will hurt the people it was intended to help. But when that didn't pass, when the Democrats didn't accept that, we said, well, what about a one-year delay? We've been offering compromise after compromise, but you hear from the president and his men and his women, no negotiation, his way or the highway. They're the ones who are unwilling to compromise on any facet of Obamacare, and I think that intransigence has led to the shutdown of the government.
You talk about compromise a lot with regard to Obamacare. I'm just curious, what part of Obamacare do you like and want to keep? Which half of it?
I don't really like any of Obamacare, but I realize I'm not going to get my way. But we do control a third of the government. People did elect us to fight. 61% of the people in Kentucky voted for Romney. 70% of people in Kentucky don't like Obamacare. So the thing is I'm supposed to go and fight to make bills either less bad or make them better if possible. So I think it is my job to stand up and provide oversight for legislation. It's precisely what Congress is supposed to be doing. This is Congress's job.
So that's Senator Rand Paul just handing Savannah Guthrie's hat to her, talking about all the compromises that the Republicans have offered. I mean, they wanted to repeal Obamacare, couldn't get that through the Senate. So they came back, let's defund Obamacare for a year. Couldn't get that through the Senate. Came back with another compromise. Let's delay the individual mandate for a year, just like President Obama did illegally and unconstitutionally with the employer mandate. That didn't get anywhere. So the Republicans again and again and again have been the ones that have shown some willingness to flex, to reconsider, to offer one compromise after another. And it's the intransigence of the Democrats that has kept this from going forward. You heard Rand Paul stumble over that word intransigence, had to say it twice. That's a tough word to say. You gotta wrap your head around that thing before you say it. Intransigence, in order to get that thing out. And he said, look, everybody has been trying to tell us elections have consequences. You got to deal with it. The people have spoken. You got to just accept it. Well, Rand Paul's saying exactly the same thing. Yeah, the people in Kentucky have spoken. They sent me to Washington, D.C. with a message: we don't like Obamacare. I'm here to represent the will of the people that elected me. So he's saying, look, elections do have consequences. The House of Representatives, for instance, is in control of the Republican Party because elections have consequences. Let's respect the will of the people. Now, when it comes to Obamacare, one last clip before we go to the phones, clip 4, 888-589-8840. This is Jack Lew. He's the Secretary of the Treasury. And the real question here, and we'll get to some of the details here in a second, how many people have signed up for Obamacare? I mean, that's the question on everybody's lips. How many people have signed up for Obamacare? We want to know what the numbers are. And here's Jack Lew getting a straight question, an honest question, an important question from Chris Wallace. And here's his reaction. Let's listen.
I want to ask you about Obamacare. You brought it up. That's what a lot of this is about. The public exchanges in Obamacare opened this week, and I think it's fair to say that the government website was a mess. In fact, and you can look at it right here, the page to sign up to enroll for Obamacare has been taken down for repairs during off-peak hours this weekend. Question, sir. You have had 3 years to prepare for this week. If I already had doubts, somebody already had doubts about the government's ability to oversee a sixth of the economy, shouldn't this just add to my doubts?
Chris, I actually think that is not what's happened this week. What happened this week is we saw 7 million people rush to go onto the webpage to find out what are their choices in this new marketplace to buy affordable health care. How many
actually signed up, sir?
They have 6 months to sign up. This is a big decision. We never expect.
How many signed up?
I don't have the exact number, but the question isn't
how many. Do you have any number? Because the government has refused to tell us how many.
It's the wrong question.
No, it isn't. In the end, looking,
the right question.
I can look, and I may have no interest, and in fact, I'm not going to need Obamacare.
We know,
the question is,
Chris,
how many people have actually signed up?
We know that people take time to make important decisions like this. They go on, they compare their options. The fact that so many millions of people rush to get information is a very good sign. And your question about the website, I don't know about you, but I sign on and I get updates on my software, and I often get corrections that I have to re-update my software from major companies. It is not unique that when you have a very large new software program come out, that people work to clean it up. I usually wait till it's 0.3 or 0.4 before I sign up. So many millions of people rush to get in because that shows how much interest there is in getting health care.
I'm going to ask it one last time because, forgive me, sir, you haven't answered it. Do you not know how many people have signed up, which would seem to indicate another major software glitch, or is it that the number is embarrassingly small?
Chris, our metric for this week was, could people get online, get the information they need to make an informed decision? They have been getting that information. We are confident that they're going to make the decision as we expect. They have 6 months to make the decision.
So you don't. Do you not know, or is it that the number is small?
Well, it's obviously not my primary area of responsibility, so my knowing or not knowing is not going to be indicative.
Nobody in the government is told.
The important issue here is that millions of Americans want to get affordable health care. They came online, they're getting the information, and you know what they're learning? They're learning they can get affordable health care. They can save money. They can avoid having a situation where they have pre-existing conditions but no health care, where they have children who have no health care. This is a very important development.
They just can't sign up for it at this point.
Well, I think they are going to be signing up. They have 6 months to sign up.
Technically, they can't.
So could not get an answer. And I tell you, it's because nobody signed up. Let's go to the phones. I've got a lot of information about this. I'll get to it after the bottom of the hour. Want to get to some folks that have been waiting patiently, but I'm going to get into this business about the technical glitches with Obamacare. So stay with me. I'll hit those at the bottom of the hour. Let us go to Christina, Columbus, Ohio. Christina, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Thanks, Brian. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can. Go right ahead.
Great. I've got you on my Bluetooth. I had a couple questions, a comment and a question. Wanted to get your thoughts on it. First of all, and this is just my opinion, I don't have any real facts to base it on, but just looking at Obama's behavior and the things that he says and the things that he's doing, it makes me wonder if he's trying really hard to incite a civil war, to pit Christians against non-Christians, Republicans against Democrats. I'm curious to see what you think about that, because to me it seems like he's trying to do all these things, shutting down these memorials and whatnot, trying to incite a riot or trying to incite civil war so that he can have an excuse to take out Christians and Republicans. That's one thing I want to know your thoughts on. And the other thing is, I wonder if you've heard anything about Hobby Lobby refusing to place like menorahs and different, Jewish holiday decorations in their stores. I had heard a comment on Facebook from some Jewish friends, and I wanted to see if you'd heard anything about it.
All right, Christine, I appreciate that. The answer to the Hobby Lobby question is they've got a whole section now. Now, they did respond. They didn't have menorahs and those kind of objects there in Hobby Lobby. Since they got these requests from the Jewish community, they've got now a whole section in the Hobby Lobby stores devoted to that. Now, as far as President Obama doing what he's doing deliberately, I believe it is. I remember our president, Tim Wildman, writing a column several months ago where he had come to the conclusion that President Obama was deliberately trying to wreck the economy. Now, I'm going beyond where Tim Wildman was at. I think he's trying to wreck this country. And wrecking an economy is one of the ways to wreck a country. I believe that President Obama has a visceral dislike for America as it was founded. He wants to punish it. He wants to bring us to our knees, to punish us for being racist to the core. And destroying the economy is the way that he wants to do it. That's why he's not willing to negotiate over the debt ceiling. He thinks the debt ceiling will be catastrophic for America, and that's what he wants.